So in this video, we will start to learn the money market. So similar as the commodity market, when we talk about market, we need to think about supply, demand, and equilibrium. So first of all, we're going to explain what is market demand. But in order to understand market demand, the number one thing we have to discuss is what is the price of the money. So what is the price for money? So, so the money supply is controlled by the Fed, and the society has a money demand. So supply is coming from the Fed, and demand is coming from everybody in the society, including us. So we talk about when we said the market determine the price of the money, and we mean the market demand, the market determine the interest rate. So think about if we have a higher interest rates. So do you think it's more expensive to acquire money? Yes, of course. Think about if you need a mortgage, you need money to buy a house, you go to the bank, get a mortgage. So if the interest rate is high, so that you know you are getting the money without very high cost. So the price of the money is kind of measured by interest rate. So also opposite case, at low interest rate, the money is cheap to acquire, right? Very good. So before we officially introducing the definition for the demand for money, we want to spend a little bit more time to discuss why the interest rate is the price for the money. So first of all, let me refresh them. Let me give you a two definition before we go further to explain why the price of the money is the interest rate. So the money supply M1 is the currency held by the public plus the balance in transaction account. So this is part of the money supply. When we talk M1, that means the money you earn every month from your part-time job, and use the money to pay the rent and pay the your food, your transportation. So those are considered as money supply M1. So when we talk about money supply M2, it is including M1 plus the balance in saving account and the money market and mutual fund. So for instance, you earn $2,000 and you only spend $1,500 and then you save $500. So you put in the bank. So if you earn, at least I earn maybe a 0.01% interest rate, or you think maybe that's not good enough, you put on the mutual funds, maybe give you 1% interest. So you earn a little bit of the interest. So you can think about no matter what, M1 or M2. So you actually hold cash and maintain positive bank balance as part of the money supply, right? So there is an opportunity cost associated with this kind of money balance, and because if you are not holding M1 or M2, so either way, so you don't save any money in the bank or you don't spend all the money, and if your money is used to purchase the bonds or stock or even make loans, you can think about it's actually likely you earn a higher rate of return than just use it or just put it in the banks, right? So as I said, I actually put my money in a 10-year treasury bond, and it's actually gave me 2.5% interest rate. So that's my actual money. So I didn't really just put in bank account, because the bank account, the 1% interest rate comes, and you need to consider inflation rate. Actually, my money is depreciating every day. So I actually bought a 10-year treasury bond, and it gave me 2.55%. And sometimes my family put the money to buy the corporate bond, and that actually going to give 4.19% interest rate. So you can see if you are just holding the money as M1, M2, so you are lose the chance to earning more interest rate. So that's why when we talk about the price of the money, and we said the nature of the price of the money should be apparent after we discussed M1, M2 if you're holding it. So people who hold cash are forgotten the opportunity to earn interest. So are people who hold money in checking account that pay no interest, or you put in the bank account or buy the mutual fund only give you a little bit interest rate. So in all of those cases, it's indicating Foregone interest is the opportunity cost of the money people chose to hold. In another way, the foregone interest is the price of the money people chose to hold. So now we are clear. If we talk about supply and demand for money, our vertical axis for supply and demand curve for money should be the interest rate because that's the price for the money. So now after we understand the price of the money, we can start to define what is the demand for money or money demand. So very similar to the commodity or product demand. So do you remember for the product demand, that means the quantity of the product the consumer willing and able to buy. But here we are not talking about buying the product. So that's why we change to the following. So the money demand is the quantity of the money the public willing and able to hold at alternative interest rates in the ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus. And keep in mind, this money is the public willing and able to hold. So they has to be able to hold. And because when we talk about M1, unfortunately, you have to spend money to buy the foods. And so willing and able to hold. And so in that case, they are able to hold. If you don't have enough money, income, so how can you hold in the money? So, or you don't have enough credits, how are you able to hold the money? So that's why it's a willing and able to hold at alternative interest rate, not price, and the ceteris paribus. So this would be the definition for the demand for money. So demand for money. So when we talk about the money demand, and if we have to know if people hold cash as M1, so they suffer an opportunity cost, so the foregone interest that they have to earn. So at a lower interest, the opportunity cost of the holding money is low, so people will hold more of it, and vice versa. Now the question is, why would people want to hold money, have a demand for money? So think about why. So actually, there's the reason, three reasons to contribute why people want to hold money. So first is the transaction demand. So think about yourself. You need to buy goods, pay the rent, and I'm sure many of the house owner, your landlord, will require you to pay cash, either check. So that's the reason you want holding the money, right? So transaction demand is for the purpose of making everyday market purchase. So that's one reason people want holding money. So what's another reason? It's called a precautionary demand. So for the unexpected market transaction or for emergencies. So actually for the precautionary demand, it depends on persons. Like I'm super risk averse. I always want to holding some money just in case some emergency happen. Like I need to go to emergency room, but if I don't have money, what should I do? So if I don't have health insurance, what should I do? And also for sometimes my car broke down. I need to fix my car. So I'm sure the bank will not loan me money to fix the car. So that's I need to save some money, holding some money so that I can deal with those emergency situation. So that's the second reason people will hold money. So for the third reason, it's called a speculative demand. So for the speculative reason, people want to hold money. So that they are able to take advantage of the investment opportunity in their near future. So in for instance, suppose that you are interested in buying stock or bonds, but didn't have picked the right ones, or regarding their present price are as too high. So you are waiting there, and at that point, it's not wise to put money in a 10-year treasury bond because you cannot withdraw within. If you withdraw in 10 years, it's not valuable. You will not get higher interest rate than just holding the money by yourself. So in such circumstance, so you might want to hold some money so that you could later buy a hot stock or bond at a price you think attractive, right? So you want to hold money so that you are able to do future investment. So those are the three reasons people want holding money. So after we understand why people want holding money, now let's put everything together. Let's look at our demand curve. So very similar as the demand curve for the product market, we see that the money demand curve is a downward curve. So it's a downward curve, and because as we said, The lower interest rate and were more likely to attract more people to holding their monies. So all three motivation, the transaction, precautionary, and the speculative demand, all resulting a downward demand curve. And so what does this mean? That means the people cut down their money balance when interest rate rise. And so this actually happened in 1980 to 1982. So um, um, so many people move their money out of transaction deposit M1 and into money market and mutual fund when interest rates are extraordinarily high. And the corporation are even more careful about managing their money when interest rate rises. And a better money management require watching checking account balance more closely and even making more frequent trip to the bank, but opportunity costs are worth it. So you can see on this chart, on this graph, this money demand curve is the downward. That means the quantity of the money people are willing and able to hold increases as interest rate fall. Ceteris paribus. So this is money demand. So you can see for the money supply, actually, it is a vertical line. So because the federal government is the one to decide the money supply, so there is no elasticity at all. So they make the mandatory decision. So they want to supply that much money or they want to reduce the money supply. So there is no elasticity involved. So the elasticity is zero. So that's why it is a vertical line. So this is the money supply. So now look at this chart. Can you guess where is the equilibrium point? So where is the equilibrium point? So it's pretty straightforward. So that would be this intersection part. As I said, treating this money you can find a lot of similarity between money market and a product market. Supply, the demand curve look very similar, and also where to find the equilibrium would be the same. So that is the intersection between supply and the demand give you the equilibrium. So at the equilibrium point, the interest rate is 7% and the money supply is G1. So the intersection of the money demand and supply establish the equilibrium interest rate. If the interest rates are higher than equilibrium, there is a money surplus, right? So you can see if it is at the 9%, so the intersection between 9% is horizontal line with the demand curve will be here. And the intersection between will be here. So this is the intersection between 9% and the money demand. And here will be the intersection between 9% and the money supply. So obviously the money demand is smaller than the money supply. We will generate the money surplus. So money surplus is higher than demand with surplus. So how the market can respond? So people must hold more money as M1 than they want to. And they will move money out of M1 into M2 or other assets such as bonds and the stock market. And eventually, the interest rate will fall to E1. So that's an equilibrium point. If we're not shifting the curve, no matter you have higher or lower interest rate than the equilibrium point, if the market is working well, it will eventually coming back to the equilibrium point. So if the interest rates are lower than the equilibrium, and then we will see there is a money shortage. So let's see the interest rate is 5% instead of 7%. So the intersection between 5% and the money supply will be here. And the intersection between 5% to money demand will be here. So you can see the demand is larger than the supply. So we will have a shortage, so money shortage. So then how the market gonna work so that we can come back to the E1. So people must hold less money as M1 because than they want to because the interest rate is too low. So they will move the money into M1 from M2 or other assets such as bonds because there's no attractive interest rate and people will move the money from into M1 from M2. So then eventually the interest rate will rise up to E1 to E1. So no matter shortage and surplus of the money, it will eventually coming back to the equilibrium point because the market mechanism on the money market is also works well. So in next video we will look at we're gonna changing the interest rate and how the interest rate gonna affect the macroeconomic outcomes.